shout out to my people. Green, silver, black, and white, always repping for my Eagles. Hey, welcome to the podcast, we gon' keep it real. Get it hype when the team stepping on the field. We all we got, we all we need. Philadelphia Eagles, lock in with me. It's a Philly thing, you ready? Let's go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what is up? What is going on? Now, listen, let's talk about this quarterback tiers list that Jeremy Fowler made via ESPN, causing a lot of disdain amongst Eagle fans as Jalen Hurts was ranked as a tier 6 quarterback, number 17 in the NFL. Again, to my liking, I think that's a little on the low side for a guy who has the resume that Jalen Hurts has. However, depending on your criteria, I understand why he was ranked 17 based on his performance last season. As we have said on this show, I personally don't believe Jalen Hurts played all that well last season. And despite having the career number in touchdowns and despite some numbers that PFF states, and we'll talk about those in just a few moments, Jalen Hurts did not play great last season. And because of that, the reputation around the league among executives have caused him to have a little bit of a dip in his reputation, I should say, right? And this has become a prove-it year for Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense, and quite frankly, rightfully so. I think that's justified, despite the fact that he won Super Bowl MVP just a couple of seasons ago. His play last season and his play over the last couple of years does warrant a little bit of skepticism in terms of his ability to be a high prolific volume passer in the NFL. And I think that's warranted. I think that's fair. However, I don't believe he's the 17th best quarterback in the NFL. I think that's a little disrespectful in my opinion. And with that being said, why don't we just pull up the quarterback tiers list just so we can see the guys who are ranked above him and guys who are kind of just ranked right near him, okay? Now, this is from WIP, so this is not my graphic, so I'm not going to take credit for it. WIP made the Jeremy Fowler graphic here for ESPN, ranking the quarterbacks based on tiers, and he also has a quarterback ranking system right next to them as well in terms of numerical ranking in the NFL. So without further ado, let's pull up said quarterback list. Okay, tier 1. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes round out 1 and 2. I believe that number should be flipped, and even then, I think Josh Allen is not the second best quarterback in the NFL, but that's neither here nor there. Another discussion for another day. Tier 2 is Matthew Stafford at number 3. Number 4 and 5 are Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, respectfully. They consider those guys tier 3 quarterbacks. Tier 4 quarterbacks, Dak Prescott's at 6. Justin Herbert's at 7, Drake May at 8, Jared Goff at 9. Tier 5, Caleb Williams is number 10, Sam Darnold at 11, Jaden Daniels at 12, Jordan Love at 13, Brock Purdy at 14, the Muffin Man himself, Baker Mayfield, number 15 as a Tier 5 quarterback. Tier 6, you got Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts is at 17. And then tier 7, you got guys like Bo Nix, Daniel Jones, CJ Stroud to round out the tier 7 quarterbacks and being in 18 to 20. Now listen, I am really not somebody who's particularly picky in terms of quarterback lists. However, I don't know what the criteria is for this tiers list. If it's based on winning games, then obviously a guy like Jalen Hurts is low. A guy like Bo Nix is low. Sam Darnold is low. Matthew Stafford, I think, is appropriately rated. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, should be number 1 no matter what. Drake May, I think, is fine there. So if it's not about winning ball games, then it's about what your performance was just last season in 2026. Now, if you're going to go based on that, Josh Allen was definitely not number 1. Matthew Stafford was probably the best quarterback in the NFL. Drake May was probably number 2. You're not going to put Lamar Jackson at 5. You're not certainly putting Joe Burrow at 4. You can't rank Patrick Mahomes because he wasn't the number 2 quarterback. Dak Prescott, if that's the case, should be ranked higher. Jared Goff could be ranked higher in theory. So it's not necessarily held. Trevor Lawrence, even if you're going to go based on the 2026 season, should be ranked higher. if your criteria here is, the totality of work in their career, then clearly this list doesn't make any sense, because Jalen Hurts has a playoff victory and a Super Bowl championship under his belt. He has multiple playoff victories, I should say. But a guy like him, a guy like Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield even, should be ranked higher than guys like Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, hell, even a guy like Drake May and Jared Goff, because if winning matters, then that should be something that's in the feather. That should be a feather in one's cap. So that quarterbacks tiers list doesn't necessarily make sense because we don't know what the criteria is, right? And if we don't know what the criteria is, then how can we garner judgment on this list and actually have it make sense? So to me, what that list signifies is whether or not you just think these guys are good quarterbacks or whether or not you think these guys stink. So they believe, Jeremy Fowler and other executives believe, that Josh Allen's just the best quarterback in the NFL, followed by Patrick Mahomes, followed by Stafford, etc., etc., etc. And they think Jalen Hurts is number 17, and they think a guy like Bo Nix, Daniel Jones, and C.J. Stroud are 20, etc., right? So, to me, this is a list based on the aesthetic. This is an aesthetic list by executives, by people in the league who don't believe in the guys who are ranked at least, 12 or under, for example. They believe that you can get similar production from another guy in the league. Fair enough. If that's your case, fine. Because in that sense, that's just a quarterback in a vacuum. And I've said it on this show many times. Jalen Hurts is not necessarily somebody who you look at and said has the biggest arm, is the most accurate, is the most the best rusher in all of football. He doesn't necessarily have the highest completion percentage. There's not a lot of things that you could look at in terms of physical skill that you say is elite. Even the deep ball, getting a good ability, having the great ability to throw the deep ball in the NFL is not necessarily a testament to arm strength. No, that's kind of a misconception. When you're a deep ball thrower, and I know this because when I play quarterback, I don't have the biggest arm, but I can throw the deep ball. Deep ball is about footwork, and it's about release on your arm angle, and it's about being able to get proper spin and air on the ball. That doesn't require a lot of arm strength. That requires skill, repetition, and technique. If you have a good technique on the deep ball, what Jalen Hurts generally has, you could throw the deep ball. It's why a guy like Russell Wilson throughout his career could throw the deep ball. Doesn't necessarily have the biggest arm, wasn't throwing it across the middle like that, but he could throw the deep ball. Jalen Hurts is the same way. So he doesn't necessarily have the biggest arm, he has a good deep ball. That's a difference. So, based on that, there's no physical gift that you look at Jalen Hurts and say, wow, this guy's got an elite trait at quarterback. The things that he's elite at are not things that you can measure. The intangibles, rising up in big moments, being clutch, things like that. Things that you can't necessarily put a tangible measure on. Those are the things that he's elite at. And I think that's what frustrates people about Jalen Hurts, because quite frankly, when you look at the film and you watch him play, it's not necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing game. And I admit it. Personally, I don't care if it's aesthetically pleasing. I just want him to get the job done. And for the most part, he gets the job done. Right? So, if you're looking at that list and you're saying, wow, he's ranked really low, understand that I believe that this list is based solely, primarily, and exclusively on whether or not they believe the aesthetic matches the play. That's what it is. They don't think he's that great of a quarterback because it doesn't look pretty. That's what it comes down to. And if you look at that list, and I'm going to pull it up one more time, think about these games for a second. Think about the guys on this list and their game. Josh Allen got an electric game. Patrick Mahomes has an electric game. Matthew Stafford is as good as it gets operating the pocket. Joe Burrow, elite in the pocket, throws a great ball, anticipatory thrower, really a polished quarterback. Lamar Jackson, an exciting player. Dak Prescott, entertaining to watch, can really light up the scoreboard. Justin Herbert has all the immense arm talent in the world. Drake May, same thing, immense arm talent. Jared Goff operates the offense well, can put up big numbers. Caleb Williams is electric. Sam Darnold, operates the offense well, can put up big numbers. Jaden Daniels, based on reputation, we've seen him play. He's an electric player. He can make big-time throws. He's clutch. Jordan Love, same idea. He's got an electric game. He's really entertaining to watch, can put up big numbers on a given day. Brock Purdy operates the offense the same way. Ends up putting up big numbers at the end of the day. Baker Mayfield, as fun as it gets watching the quarterback position, in my opinion, a gamer, can make plays on the run, can make plays throwing the ball. Here's where the list gets a little choppy. Trevor Lawrence, as good of a quarterback in terms of talent as he is, because he has physical gifts, it's not necessarily a pretty game to watch. Jalen Hurts, it's an ugly game to watch when he's operating an offense. Bo Nix, very up and down, can put up big numbers 1 second, but in other instances you look at it and you're like, oh my God, this guy can't play. Daniel Jones, he has really big time moments, and then there's other moments where you're like, wow, he really likes to turn the ball over and has a little bit of fumbleitis. CJ Stroud, same idea. It's not necessarily the most pretty game to watch. So when you're looking at that quarterback tier list, understand it's about aesthetic. And when you take that into consideration, all of a sudden you look at the 17th ranked quarterback for Jalen Hurts and you say, you know what, I understand it. So that's what that list is about. Now, does that necessarily warrant his 17th ranked or being a tier 6 quarterback in the NFL? That I don't know. Because if you're going to look at body of work and if you're going to look at everything that the guy has done in his career, it's not necessarily a 17th ranked quarterback, despite the stats that he has put up in his career. With that, let's look up the past 4 years, what he's done at the quarterback position. What's up, everybody? This is your host, Asif Badi of the Riding the Bike Eagles podcast. Listen, if you like what you're hearing thus far in this video, do me a favor here. Shoot this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost me a damn thing to go ahead and do those things for a brother and another human being. So I appreciate your support on the opposite side of the camera. And without further ado, let's get on with the show. 2022 was his breakout year. That was the first year we got to the Super Bowl, probably his best overall year in my opinion. 22-6 in terms of touchdown to interception, had 101.5 passer rating, 3,700 yards. 2023, he threw for more yardage, but that was the collapse year, so not necessarily a feather in his cap. 2024, we won the Super Bowl. He increased his completion percentage up higher, threw less interceptions, had 18 touchdowns, 103.7 passer rating. And then in 2025, was about 65% completion percentage, had 3,200 yards, career high in touchdowns thrown. He had 6 interceptions, but 4 of those came in one game, and a 98.5 passer rating. So again, those numbers don't look bad on paper, but really not necessarily the best stats in terms of his prolific passer rating or prolific passing numbers, so to say, in the NFL, especially in a passing era that we've had these past few years. Now, here's the other thing that's a little bit of an enigma and a little bit of a tough judgment in terms of Jalen Hurts. His passing numbers, according to Advanced Metrics, PFF, they're all pretty good, especially in the last season. So let's look up those numbers right now. 454 attempts, 17th among the 43 active quarterbacks, 25 passing touchdowns, which was top 10 in the NFL. Passing yardage, he was about 16th average in terms of yardage, even though the team ranking was closer to the 25th or 26th ranked passing offense, probably a little bit lower. Interceptions, he was ranked 6th. He had 6 interceptions, 13th among NFL quarterbacks who qualified amongst 43 guys. So the attempts we talked about, he was about 17th in the NFL. Passing yards, he was 16th. Passing touchdowns, you look at, he was 9th on the NFL list. The 8th ranked quarterback in terms of A-dot percentage. Now, A-dot is basically average depth of target. So in terms of throwing the ball down the field, he was ranked 8th among NFL quarterbacks. 7th amongst average time to throw. That means he holds on to the ball a lot. Pressure to sack ratio, that means he does hold on to the ball and takes a lot of sacks. He's ranked 17th in that sense. That's not necessarily the best metric to have. Big time throws, he's ranked 10th in the NFL. over-worthy plays because he had the propensity to put the ball on the ground in terms of fumbles last year as well. He had 6 interceptions and 5 fumbles, right? And I think only a few of them were actually actual fumbles taken away, but they was ranked 12th in that list. Not necessarily the best, not necessarily the worst. And then in terms of rushing, obviously he had quarterback designed runs with quarterback sneaks. He didn't really scramble a lot, so he was really trying to throw the ball a lot more. He had 8 touchdowns rushing, which was ranked 4th in the NFL. So listen, basically what I'm trying to suggest here with these advanced metrics by PFF is that these numbers say he was not all that terrible last year in terms of advanced numbers. However, when you look at the eye test and when you watch the offense run and you watch the teams play, I don't think those numbers necessarily warrant him being or having a really great or really good year last season. It's not as bad as what I think people make it out to be, where it's almost a detriment to him and it's an indictment on him where he's fighting for his NFL career essentially at the moment. I don't think that's the case. I certainly think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, gets the job done, and is much better than people believe. However, I understand the ranking. I understand why people rank him at 17, why people believe that he's just a product of the system. And with that, most quarterbacks are a product of the system, so that's neither here nor there. Point being is the reaction of disrespect warranted? Depends how you look at it. I personally think it's a little low for my liking, but if it's just solely based on the aesthetic of the position, which that list seems to be based on, I understand it. However, if you're looking at body of work, if you're looking at wins, if you're looking at victories, or if you're looking at just like overall resume, he certainly does not warrant being number 17 in the NFL. He's certainly ranked higher, okay? Based on the fact that he has a Super Bowl title alone, he should be a top 10 guy. I think that matters in the NFL. I think that's an important skill to have because ultimately as fans, you want the team to win. And Jalen Hurts, since he's been in the NFL, along with Nick Sirianni, has led the Eagles to a lot of victories. Now, whether or not you want to credit Howie Roseman for that more so than Nick Sirianni or Jalen Hurts, another discussion for another day. Because then you can look at a bunch of other teams and actually look at and say, hey, you know what? Based on the GM, that's what wins football games. But overall, the point being is the list is disrespectful based on how you look at it. If it's just solely on aesthetic, it's an apropos list. If it's looking at body of work based on play last season, yeah, it's a little bit of a fugazi list. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'm curious to see what you all believe in terms of what this quarterback rankings list means to you, whether you think it's disrespectful or if you think Jalen Hurts is a bum. Both sides of the coin have valid points. Whether you're a Jalenite, whether you're a Tanner McQueefster, whether you're a guy who just believes that I don't like mobile quarterbacks as operating the NFL offense, that's fine. More power to you. All I'm saying is that since he's been here, we've had a level of success along with Sirianni that we haven't had in franchise history. I think that warrants and garners some respect. So, 17th on the list, to me, is a little low. That's just my opinion. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. And we will see you back here next time for the next episode of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. Hey, thank you so much for getting through this episode of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want more content just like this, hit the subscribe button below to lock in with me. Thank you so much for your support on the opposite side of the camera, and check us out on other platforms in the description box below. And we'll see you back here next time for the next episode of the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.